Hey guys! Today I'm traveling up to Mayodan, North Carolina. Mayodan is a small town nestled between Madison and Stoneville, about half an hour north of Greensboro and Winston-Salem. Mayodan is a town rich with history, great people, and a family-owned business called Charlie Soap. I'm heading up Highway 220 and will turn off at the Mayodan exit. I will cross into Mayodan over the Dan River, right next to where the Washington Mill once stood. A long time ago it was known as the Mayo Mill. Today there are only some scattered bricks that remain. I continued through Mayodan to Charlie Soap. Here I visit with Charlie and his three sons, Morgan, James, and Taylor. I got to learn about the history of their company, the importance of Mayodan to them, and their future plans. Next, I am off to the Mayo River State Park. I'm going to look at a pavilion built by the famous architect Antonin Raymond, a protege of Frank Lloyd Wright. Also, I'm going to talk about Avalon, North Carolina, the town that disappeared from the map. It was located on a portion of the Mayo State Park. Unfortunately, there's nothing left to see. Lastly, I'm going to travel about 20 minutes north of Mayodan and hike down to a waterfall known as Fall Creek Falls. I will take a look at the waterfall and hike around the area for a bit. The falls will wrap up this trip, and then I'll head back to Greensboro from there. I have provided a link to the map I created in Google down in the description. This way you can go back and you can take a look at it anytime that you want. Okay, so that's the plan. So let's speed things up and move out. Alright, here we are in downtown Mayodan. I'm going to walk you around downtown, show you what it looks like, and then we'll head out from here and we're going to go check out Avalon and a couple of great places. Here we are in Mayodan, North Carolina. The town is named after the Dan River and the Mayo River, due to its proximity to the convergence of these two rivers. Mayodan is in the Guinness Book of World Records because it is the only town in the world with this name. Mayodan was a mill town that was built up around the Washington Mills plant that was built in 1892. Mayodan was a mill town that was built up around the Washington Mill plant that was built in 1892. This photo was taken of Mayodan at the turn of the century. You can see this burgeoning mill town as the train races along the side of the Dan River. The photo appears to have been taken from Cedar Mountain. There's something unusual about this photo. If you look down in the corner of the picture, along the bottom, you will notice a small figure. I think we have found the first photobomb. This was pointed out to me by a ranger at the station in the Mayo River State Park, where it's hanging in their office. The rangers there were so helpful to me in researching this episode. I greatly appreciate their time, especially Connie Fox. It was a typical southern mill town, and the company owned everything from housing to the general store. The plant was built by Colonel Henry Fries, a graduate of Davidson College. Although his name is pronounced Fries, it is spelled like fries, F-R-I-E-S. When Colonel Fries left his father's textile mill, he started the Roanoke and Southern Railway with some investors that included Washington Duke. After the railway was completed, he built Washington Mills in Mayodan. This mill was originally known as the Mayo Mill. For almost a century, Washington Mill fueled a bustling town with good economic opportunities for the people who lived in the area. The employment that the mill provided allowed entrepreneurs to come into the area to meet the needs of the mill workers. In the early 1900s, Colonel Henry Fries constructed a second cotton mill located up the river and was called the Avalon Mill. Later in his career, Colonel Fries started Wachovia Bank, which later merged with Wells Fargo after the subprime crisis in 2008. Washington Mill was bought by Toltex Corporation and was a working mill until the late 1990s when production was moved overseas and the mill was closed. The factory was purchased by a private company that stripped the wood floors and bricks to be sold as vintage building materials. The shell was abandoned and torn down by the city. Now let's jump forward to today and meet some modern-day entrepreneurs that call Mayodan home. Charlie Soap and Sutherland Products. I sat down with Charlie and his sons, Morgan, James, and Taylor, a down-to-earth family that runs Charlie Soap and Sutherland Products. I had a great deal of fun visiting with this family about their business. I learned that Charlie Soap was built through hard work, persistence, and ingenuity. Also, the soap is non-toxic and all-natural. And most importantly, it's made right here in the good old US of A, employing friends and neighbors in the area. Charlie's father owned a company that produced machine oil for the cotton mills. This machinery would get gummed up after excessive use. Charlie and his brother-in-law were tasked with finding a solution for the mills. They developed a soap to help clean these machines. I will let Charlie explain the rest in his own words.
So he started making the lubricant for the yarn, and the technology had changed quite a bit, and then the yarn was made much more sticky. So it would stick to the yarn and stick to everything it needed to stick to, except they couldn't clean it off, and they needed to get a cleaner. And so my brother-in-law and I were commissioned to find a soap that would clean the oil that we made. Well, I knew how to make the oil, and I just reverse engineered from a oil base on a surfactants and oil, which the stuff had to wash off with water anyway. So I just made a soap that was water-based with the same type of detergents, slightly different, makeup, but it was the same technology. And so we made our detergents based on a specific end use. And we were green before green was a word. So the machines that we had to clean were so delicate that women did the cleaning rather than the men, go roughhouse in it. And the women, of course, were more delicate, and we had to make sure that our cleaner cleaned the oil, but it wouldn't take the oil out of the skin of the ladies' hands while they were working on it. They didn't even use gloves.
Yeah, the parts were so small that, you couldn't wear gloves otherwise, like I guess the gloves they had back then. Right. And so they would just do it all without gloves, and they'd wash for days on end, and they washed 400 machines in 10 years. And they would take a machine per month, and they would break it down to its constituents, clean every part, and then put it all back together before they sold it. And these women basically washed these parts for 10 years straight.
And then the Chinese bought out all these machines, so every month they would break it completely down all the way and put it back together and put it on the boat to send it to China.
So once a month they sent a whole new machine.
It took 10 years to clean all the machines I had.
And in the meantime, a lot of it was getting stolen going out the back because people were realizing how clean they were going home. So they had to have it. And so Dad had to sell them 33% more just to keep the theft under control.
Well, the company got mad at me, but my dad was a little bit involved with it. But we were going to have to set up an outlet store because people were stealing it. and we asked the local Winn-Dixie to be the outlet store, and they would buy a pallet load of the stuff once a week in a grocery store.
Yeah, we're
Full circle,
still
actually.
struggling to get a customer that buys a pallet load once a week. A single store. It's, yeah.
We had the EPA jump on us because we had a label on it that was bad. It said that it would kill cockroaches, it would choke them on the bubbles, and they said that was we were now selling an insecticide. So we had to go through all the craziness with the EPA, and some guy came in and did an interview with us and a video. It's really neat. And EPA made us change the label. So I said, caution, do not spray directly on fleas, ticks, cockroach, or whatever. In case of accidental exposure, call your local humane society for the name of a qualified insect veterinarian for resuscitation instruction.
It's still on the label.
Yeah,
It still says it killed them.
So to answer your question,
it just says we don't
And the
recommend it.
EPA they just threw up their hands and said, we can't do anything about that. God, this
He's not recommending it for it.
Hurt Celanese started making things from plants for things in Germany. And I just happened to get a sample of the stuff, and check it out. And it had the straight chain oxalates, what they call it. Everything's got a straight chain because the bugs that eat along the line. Rather than have to go around circles to get there, they eat it in a straight line, and it's a lot more biodegradable. So I got this stuff, and it was, we were doing some tests on biodegradability at that time. And I bought a tanker load of the stuff, and I continued to buy this material. It wasn't until 10 years later that we found out that we were the absolute first people to buy green surfactants
In the
or
United
green
States.
detergents. We were the first people anywhere.
we were green before it was cool.
Other than that, it was just a project that they were trying to sell to people, and none of the industry would buy it.
And when was this?
And
Was this back in the 80s?
That was late 80s, early 90s, 92,
in 92,
91.
yeah, 92.
Look at me go. I'm just
And we
guessing.
were the absolute first. We had no idea.
Fast forward 10 years, he gets a call. Both of them get a call from a Japanese national. Says, I can make you guys millions, but I need a powder and not a liquid. But he says, we're going to sell truckload after truckload of this new powder. And I said, you don't make powder. He says, we do now. That guy sold, what do you buy, like one case?
No, I don't think he ever bought any product.
No, that's
But
right.
we did go to, I was sent to Japan to supposedly seal that deal. And while I was there, I had to cancel the deal because he wasn't going to pay us what we wanted. But I also did pick up a customer there that we sold to for probably 10 years straight, which was really nice to say. Now I'm the international sales.
So we had this product and no sales. We had a couple of sales, the Winn-Dixie here and there, not enough to support all of us. I said, well, we're here, I'm here, I've moved. What's this whole internet thing? So launched a website, launched a shopping cart on Yahoo Shopping of all places. And I've still got my first sale. Like most people post their first dollar, I've actually got my first internet sale. It's from California. And at that literal moment, I said, my first sale of Charlie Soap, branded as Charlie Soap, new logo, new packaging, new product, was from California and not from Madison, Mayodan. We got something here. And now we're number 2 on Amazon, number 2 on the internet, number 4 selling laundry powder in all of grocery, number 3 selling laundry powder in like all of specialty grocery. Just kicking butt and taking names on a item that we never really were supposed to make in the first place.
Yeah. We also tried weird stuff in the packaging, so we got a cloth bag and put Charlie Soap, printed Charlie Soap on it, and of course cloth doesn't really keep the water out very well, so we ended up with
turned into
9
bricks.
pallets of bricks. But we won an award in France for our packaging. No lie. So what we ended up having to do is put the powder in a plastic bag and then put it in a cloth bag, and you end up with, the packaging costs just go skyrocketing. But at least we got our name out there,
It was,
and then we switched over to a
glorious
normal.
package.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
It
just
was
beautiful.
absolutely the most beautiful package we have ever made. But at the time we ended up having to switch, we can make 3 pallets a day or a week, and we were selling 4.
Yeah.
And we're like, this ain't gonna work.
Yeah, I remember. We were selling like we were making 1 pallet a day.
And
Now
selling
now
1.1.
our packager can do 20 pallets in a day, if not 40, if he needs to. So.
And we switched to the jar, which got us out there. It was so hideous.
Everybody thinks forward and tries to all right, well, as a small company, let's try to make as much as we can off of our means. And we didn't go about it that way, did we? We just said, hey, let's just spend $1 on a package instead of 15 cents like everybody else, and then charge the same as everybody else. So we're just not making as much money.
The end game right now is wastewater treatment. James can tell you that story.
Yeah, we have a new thing going on. About 3 years ago, we gave away some soap to the local municipality. We had some off-spec product, and so I gave it to them to wash their trucks and their cars and driveways and whatever they wanted to wash with it. And I said, just let me know what it's been good on. It had a little off-spec smell, so we couldn't put it on the consumer market.
Smell like stinky feet.
Yeah, it actually smelled a little off. So, but otherwise the product works. So about 6 months later, they called me back and said, James, can I dump this stuff down the drain? And I said, no, bring it back to me. If you're not going to use it, I'll take it home, or I'll get my employees to take it home, or I'll find some other use for it. And he said, no, James, I've got this manhole that stinks. And it's been stinking for like 20 years or something. Ever since Stoneville's wastewater was hooked up to Mayodan, this manhole has stunk. And it's right in front of a church, and the church complains about it every week. And so he's like, I've got this soap. I've got so much soap here. Can I put it down the drain? I said, yeah, it's no problem. It's biodegradable, non-toxic. He said, well, we're going to have our wastewater treatment plant test it. But I just didn't want to start that process if it was going to be a no-go. So apparently he put 55-gallon drums, a whole 55-gallon drum in this lift station. Actually, the lift station we were just talking about with the river access right there. And the smell went away for 6 weeks for the first time in 20 years. I mean, they've been able to mask it for 3 days with like a citrus thing or like a lavender thing or whatever, but they can't get rid of it. And so this got rid of it for 6 weeks. And then over the next 3 years, they tested using less and less product, and they found out that 1 gallon a day put into this wastewater treatment plant or this lift station would keep the smell down forever. So they do 365 gallons a year.
14,000 gallons of wastewater
being
is
treated by
cured
one.
with 1 gallon of our soap.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I took about 6 months ago. I
It's
decided,
impossible, but it works.
Yeah.
It's limonene is what it is.
Okay.
And that dissolves the greases and things like that.
To an extent.
Yeah.
It's like a turpentine with an orange smell.
But they still have to. From what I've heard from the wastewater treatment guys, is that it'll cover it up for 3 days,
Right.
and it's super expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we've come with is something that's about a quarter of the cost,
Right.
if not an eighth of the cost.
Wow.
It worked for 6 weeks.
And so the guys in Reedsville, they put it in their lift station for 3 weeks, 4 gallons a day, which was well more than I told them to use. And for 4 months, they didn't have a problem. They got rid of all the fats, oils, and greases, and they got rid of the smell
Right.
for 4 months.
Right.
And there's nothing online. There's nothing out there that can do it.
Right.
And so
And this is just laundry. So
we've had our first sale.
Well,
Eden picked it up. They picked
Slight.
up a 275-gallon tote. That was our first sale into that market. And we've got another 10 or 15 samples out there being tested by different municipalities.
That's great.
We're batting 1,000 right now. We've helped everybody who's sent
it
product.
works every place. We hope to have a run in South Florida shortly. So I'm not sure when that is actually going to happen, but it's been promised.
So the end game is, of course, hot and cold running Charlie soap in every household. Yeah. Hopefully, they're just flushing it down the drain just to keep the municipalities clean, so we don't have to sell it to them on the side.
Yeah, the guy in Reedsville said that if everybody used Charlie's soap, he would be basically out of a job.
Right.
Because the sewer would just be clean
And
all
that's
the time.
that's the story we really want to get out there.
Yeah.
I'm actually,
We really want to make a difference.
I'm slowly starting to tailor my Facebook to have that underlying theme.
Actually, recently we got in touch with a investigative reporter that she came and talked to me, and I told her the whole story about the relationship between the pastor and the mayor of Mayodan from that stinky church. And you know, it was a fantastic story that these people had been basically, they finally sold the church because it was so nasty. I didn't know any of that part, and she went and investigated it, and come to find out that the pastor had a Glade plug-in in every single outlet in the whole church, and that it wouldn't touch it. They said it wouldn't touch it. No, it wouldn't touch the stench that was coming from this manhole, and what it was is the parking lot for the church was across the street.
Okay.
And there was a manhole right in between the parking lot and the church, and so that all their parishioners would walk right over that manhole, right through this basic green fog,
Right.
and then roll up into church. And so the church smelled like absolute crap because the
Literal
people
true
smell like
believers.
it. Yeah. So I was told this story, and everybody thought I was making it up, and or I thought somebody else was making it up. And she actually, we were on the front page of the News and Record a couple weeks ago. For that, she did that investigative
Yeah.
piece on it.
The new owner of the church, new pastor,
Doesn't know anything about
He doesn't
it.
know anything about the smell. He's never heard of it.
Really?
Yeah, and it had been doing it for 20 years.
Wow.
I mean, every week, the pastor would call the mayor.
But just
and say,
imagine
"Listen,
what we could
So
do
each-
for the rest of the world in cost and pleasantness, in our.
What he's basically
Trying to-
saying is, so we're trying to affect people's lives on a fundamental level just a little bit. Maybe they stop itching for the first time in their lives. Maybe their child is allergic to everything and they finally 1 minute of peace that they've never had before. Maybe I don't know, maybe they're a pig farmer on Tuesdays and a model on Wednesdays and all their clothes are dirty. I don't know, but there's something that we can do that can affect like people's lives for the better. And yeah, so if it means that somebody big says, we'll take it from here, fine. But till then, I'm just going to continue to do the best thing that we can for humanity. I mean, some people can
and
have
also
some people.
ourselves. If
Well,
possible.
yeah. Some people.
Like to make a little bit of money. That would be nice, I mean, helping the environment is a great thing to do.
You're supposed to take.
Why would you not? Anybody, if they were in a position to help the environment, would definitely be able to do that. It just so happens that we can actually make a living doing that.
You're supposed to
Yeah.
take your talent and you're supposed to make it blossom and share it with the world. God put us in this position. It gave us the talent to screw up and still do something nice for people. And we're going to use that which we've been given to do the best we can. And if that makes me rich in the process, oh darn.
Oh darn!
I'm still waiting for that part.
There are a lot of companies that are sort of riding on the coattails of the green revolution,
Right.
so that they can make a quick buck, or they can fool somebody into buying their product. But with us, that's what's so great is we are actually trying to change the world. But we're doing it in a legitimate way. We're doing it in an authentic, legitimate way.
Right.
We're trying to give people a better product than they could ever get. We're ending up with a better product than the environment has ever seen. And we're actually able to make some money off of it. So it pays us to do this thing that's good for the environment and good for people. It's pretty cool.
Well, Mayodan is a kind of interesting thing for us. When we first started to make this open, we needed more water than the water would supply us through the small pipe that they had. I explained what the problem was, and those guys came in there, tapped onto the main water supply with 4 1-inch taps, and combined them in a manifold, built the manifold for us, and pumped it into our plant, and didn't charge us a damn thing. What Mayodan has done for us is the big thing, not what we've done for them.
Yeah.
Except to put their name out in the world. But Mayodan's a great place, and they've done just a super job for us. And that's just an example of what wonderful people they are.
As you can see, I had a great visit with Charlie and his sons. The next time that you go to the store, pick up some Charlie's soap and give it a try. If your store doesn't carry it, make sure that you ask the manager to start stocking it. You would be doing a small family business a favor, and you won't be sorry when you start using their soap. It is good for you, good for the environment, and good for Mayodan and the American worker. Now, I'll get down off my soapbox and move on to Avalon and the Mayo River State Park. Hey guys, here we are at the Mayo River State Park, and we're at the pavilion that I wanted to show you. I'm just going to kind of walk around outside and give you a quick look of what it looks like. It's based on Japanese architecture, and knowing that, you can really see it. If I hadn't have known that, I'm not sure if I would have been able to pick that out, but it is a unique building and it's worth taking a look at. So I'm going to swing this around and just walk you around. Just set up. Colonel Henry Fries, after building Washington Mill, decided to build a second mill further up the river. This became the town of Avalon and was located in what is now the Mayo River State Park. Today, there are no remains of this town. The mill was located next to the town on the banks of the Mayo River. This is now private property, but it doesn't really matter since there's nothing left to see. There is an amazing write-up on Avalon if you would like to research this further. I will put the link down in the description so you can go over and take a look at it. The town of Avalon had 62 lots for housing, a mill store, barbershop, school, and a Moravian church. Also, an 11-room hotel was erected for the use of company officials and others working on the construction of the mill. I've gotten conflicting stories about this hotel. I'm not sure if the hotel is actually the hotel over in Mayodan or if this hotel was actually in Avalon. On June 15, 1911, a fire started in the Avalon Mill, which is a very common occurrence in cotton mills due to the flammability of the cotton. Even though the factory had a state-of-the-art fire suppression system, for the early 1900s it failed to operate and the fire quickly spread. The factory burned down and was lost. A traveling photographer was passing by this area when the fire started. This is why we have so much photographic evidence of the fire today. The factory was insured and the company was able to recover its cost, but it was not rebuilt. The owners decided to combine operations at the Washington Mill. The town was moved over to Mayodan. This photo shows 16 horses and mules rolling a house towards Mayodan. Today, if you drive through Mayodan and you see a house with a little white plaque on it, this means that the house was built in Avalon but was moved to Mayodan. I got to sit down with the granddaughter of a woman who was born in Avalon. Her name is Connie Fox and she had lots of research materials about Avalon. She grew up in Mayodan and knows all of the local stories. She provided me with a lot of detail about both towns, and I greatly appreciate the time that she spent with me. Now, on to Fall Creek Falls, which is part of the Mayo River State Park, but it is up the Mayo River about 15 to 20 minutes. We will have to saddle back up and head to the North Carolina-Virginia border to take a look. This fall was recently acquired by the Mayo River State Park. As a result, it is not very well known. This has its pluses and its minuses. The plus is that there are very few people visiting these falls, and the minus is that it is poorly marked. The parking is not level, and you get to drive down a gravel road. This might be fun for an adventure motorcyclist, but on a cruiser, there are other things that I would prefer to do. The road turns to gravel less than half a mile to the parking lot, and there's almost no traffic. If you're on a cruiser, go slow and park on the grass at the top of the lot. Now, let's take a look at these falls. This area is absolutely gorgeous, one of the best secrets in North Carolina, and a great place to enjoy a picnic. I started riding motorcycles about 30 years ago. For most of these years, I had a riding partner to go on adventures with, Jack Stammet, my father-in-law. He served our country during Vietnam in the Air Force and worked as an airport engineer in New York for most of his career. Here is a picture of him with my daughter. He raised 2 wonderful children, one who became my wife and the other became one of my best friends. Unfortunately, Jack, due to his age and some health problems, is not able to ride a motorcycle anymore. I started recording my outings to share with him so he could still experience riding a motorcycle. This quickly morphed into the series that I am recording for the North State Biker. I want to let Jack know that he has missed on these rides and what wonderful memories I have spending time with him on the road. I wish he was here now, especially because I've got to hike down the Mayo River along this path and I need a couple of extra hands. Along the Mayo River, you can see fish weirs that were built by the Native Americans. They are rocks that are lined up in a V shape that funnel the fish to a narrow point in the river. Then they're able to just scoop them up. Now this was effective back before all of the dams were built on the river, and fish would swim up the river from the ocean to spawn, such as shad. Native Americans could easily harvest lots of fish. Today, this would not be the case because the dams prevent these fish from coming up the river to spawn. Okay, this video series is called a Project Fat Dad Joint for a reason. I'm fat. This is an irrefutable fact. I want to be thin. I just have one problem, and that's getting from A to B. This hike took everything that I had. It was hot. I was wearing motorcycle gear and was hiking with all of my equipment. Towards the end of the hike, I was just wheeling my feet one in front of the other while concentrating on the ground. I finally got back to the picnic area by the parking lot and sat down at one of the tables. I looked over at my bike and noticed that it was on the ground.
Okay, well, I'm exhausted. I'm an out of shape guy. I can see I'm sitting on a bench trying to recover a little bit of energy, but I can see in the parking lot that my motorcycle fell over on the slope. So if I remember correctly, this motorcycle is either 680 or 780 pounds. And I am wiped out. So let's see what we can do about it.
Now, I don't know if anybody tipped it over on purpose. It could have been just a strong gust of wind for all I know. But this is why I suggest parking on the grass area if you arrive on a motorcycle. I could not get the bike up on the gravel. My feet kept slipping and I couldn't get good purchase. And I was afraid if I lifted too hard that I would slip and hurt myself. So I did what any fat man would do. I sat down at the table and attempted to call for help. Oh, just as a side note, there's no cell service up here. But like most things in North Carolina, everything ended on a high note. After waiting about 30 minutes, a truck passed by. I was upset with myself that I did not hear it early enough to wave it down. And a minute later, the truck backed up right next to me. The man called to me, "Is that your bike back there?" I told him that it was, and he responded, "I'll help you get it back up." He didn't offer to help, he just gave it. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but sometimes it's the little things that can turn around your day. Well, thanks for sticking around to the end. This wraps it up for this video. I hope you learned a little bit about our North Carolina story. Please leave a comment below. We would love to hear from you. There are 3 ways that you can support us in making these videos, from easiest to hardest. First, and the easiest, click the subscribe button and the like button, and make sure you ring that bell so that you're notified of future videos. A share to your Facebook page would be an awesome bonus. Second, you can purchase a high quality photo from the shooting of this video or from one of our other videos. We also have great t-shirts and other swag. I will provide a link to our store in the description. Finally, you can support us financially through Patreon. You will receive a discount to our store and will be eligible for special events as I travel around. I'll provide a link down in the description. Thank you for watching, and God bless.